Yo, Bacon Bits, what's up? My bag. I'm fucking around with my channel right now. Uh just trying to see how many subscribers I got. Guys are moving slower than I thought. I'll be right back. I only got 30 minutes. Don't you hate those 30-minute breaks, yo? Swear to God, yo. Seems like in 30 minutes you don't even have enough time to eat a banana. What the fuck is the world coming to? Hmm? Mm. What do you do for a living? Where do you work at? Ah, you work from home. That's good. My girl has a job. Like, well, she can work from home like a couple days a week. I wish I had a job like that where I could just, what is it, Prudential? That's who my girl works for, Prudential. Same thing, just doing like insurance adjustments and things like that. But yeah, some days she doesn't even have to go to the office. She's just like, oh, I work from home today. Just log on to her on the laptop and she'll sit in the living room and just work, I guess. Well, must be nice. Mm. United Healthcare. Mm. Some bananas and raisins. That's a good snack.
Connected to iPhone. Connected to Galaxy Tab A2016.
Alright, so today we're going to test you on some 2000s music.
Ooh, I'm ready.
I'm so proud of myself this whole episode. I'm never this good at this. Like, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so today we're gonna test you on some 2000s music.
Ooh, I'm ready to listen to some good songs.
I have mixed feelings about this. I'll either do really, really well or like terrible, and I'll get like 1.
That's like my prime music. That's what I listen to. So hopefully I get this.
Yes, yes. I've been doing so good on 2000s lately. I'm super excited.
Justin Timberlake.
I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the
I totally don't know the song.
That's crazy. Nobody don't know
He's
Justin
still
Timberlake.
making hits today.
I was like a little kid singing this, being like, "Oh, where's my bae at?" You know.
Can we just talk about how bomb Justin is? Like,
Once again, the one dude said he's like, and he's still making hits. Yes, the people from my generation of music are still making hit songs 20, 25 years later. This new music, these kids aren't going to be able to do that. Tekashi 6ix9ine is not going to be making good songs 25 years from now. It's just, I don't see it happening, yo. I just don't see it.
Do you know this?
It's probably like My Love or something like that. It's My Love, but I don't know the artist.
My Love by Justin Timberlake.
it's My Love, Justin Timberlake.
This is My Love by the one and only Justin Timberlake.
My Love by Justin Timberlake.
This is My Love by Justin Timberlake.
Now, in the back of my mind, I was thinking that.
Oh,
Anyway.
Justin Timberlake was literally the king of the 2000s.
People still listen to this all the time because it's a good song.
Yeah, that's me. That's gotta argue with the friends about who.
I wish rap was still like this.
See me say you do.
Okay, I've heard this probably.
The man, 13 game.
He's 13?
I know.
Head in the back.
Oh, he sounds so young.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yippee yo, yippee yay.
Lil Bow Wow?
He's little boy.
Talk to me now.
Wow, 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 yippee yo, yippee yo.
That's why I almost didn't recognize it because I ain't never listened to Bow Wow.
Yo, yippee yay. Where my dogs at? Talk to me now.
That was cute. I liked it. I've never heard it before though.
Do you know it?
I really don't know.
I don't know who that is.
The voice did not sound familiar at all to me.
I don't know the name. I know it's Lil Bow Wow.
Definitely Bow Wow. I don't know the song though.
That's Bow Wow. Yippee yo, yippee yay.
It's Bow Wow, That's My Name by Lil Bow Wow featuring Snoop Dogg.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
He sounds so cute. He's 13. That's a cute song. I like that.
It wasn't like trap, like hard music that you listen to on the radio today. Like, and I hate that kind of music sometimes.
I could go back and listen to that because that kid's good. I mean, geez, he's not a kid anymore now that I think about it.
Yeah, Bow Wow's old as I am.
Yep, you lost me. Wait, no. You did not lose me.
Oh, that's fucking,
Oh, this song is so pretty too.
that's Clockers by,
What is this? I've heard
the
this
name of the song is Clockers by fucking,
Such a good band.
oh my god, why I can't think of the name of the band?
I think the song's still super popular today.
Wait a minute. You know how I do. No, it's not YouTube. Yo, it's not YouTube. Fucking shit, dude. Coldplay. That was fucking cold. I swear to God, I think that's Coldplay, yo. The name of the song is Clockers. I'm pretty
Do you
sure
know this
that.
song?
Okay, I don't know the artist or the title.
Imagine Dragons? I don't know the title.
It's Coldplay, but I don't think I know the
Coldplay.
song.
I don't think I have a
Clockers.
guess, but it sounded a lot like Coldplay.
I'm thinking Coldplay, but
Yeah.
I don't know the title.
Hourglass by Coldplay.
This is Clocks by Coldplay.
It's Coldplay Clocks.
This
Clocks
is actually
or Clock or something like
Clocks
that.
by Coldplay.
Coldplay. That's. I forgot they existed.
Clocks. I see. I knew that had something to do with time. I just.
Coldplay.
I just still get the point on that.
Never heard
they
a clock made that
existed.
sound, but you know,
What the
first
fuck?
for everything.
These kids are. Oh my god, kids. Come on, guys.
I never knew what she was saying.
Oh yeah, I think I was in elementary school when this song came out. This was lit.
Is that Gwen Stefani? That was Gwen Stefani did that song? Yeah, Gwen. And she is from the band No Doubt.
You know, I probably sang this song too when I was like 5 years old. I'm like, this is definitely inappropriate.
Who is the artist?
You don't know who Gwen Stefani is? Oh my
the bass
god, I had such a crush for Gwen.
Do you know this one?
No, I don't know what this is.
I don't know.
Gwen
I'm guessing the
Stefani
title
is a
is
fine
London
ass.
and by
Damn.
Gwen Stefani. London Bridge by Black Eyed Peas.
Fergie.
Black Eyed
I'm gonna say
Peas.
London Bridge.
Fergie? London Bridges?
Fergie.
It's not
London
Fergie.
Bridge.
London Bridge by Fergie.
This is actually London Bridge by Fergie.
No, it's just Fergie.
That is Fergie?
Oh.
This is Fergie's first single as a solo artist.
Really? I could have swore that was fucking
You know what? I
Gwen
think
Stefani
she
song.
did as much
Oh
as she
my
can.
god,
with
they got me
Black
on
Eyed
one.
Peas, and I
Okay,
feel like
I got one
after
wrong.
you do as much as you can with a group, you obviously have to break off.
And then she sang.
Break off. Well, the Black Eyed Peas were already a group a long time before Fergie even got in there, and then she just did like 1 or 2 albums. Yo, I swear to God, I thought that was Gwen Stefani's song, yo. But it was Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas. Okay, Fergie. I remember she did the Lady Lumps or some shit like that. Damn, I gave credit to the wrong person, yo. Fergie. Okay, Fergie, you got that
The
one.
national anthem, and then she kind of just all the way. So yeah, good luck to you, Fergie.
Daft Punk. I got everything Daft Punk. I don't know the name of that song, but probably is Celebrate. That comes from their Discovery album, which had the whole movie to go with it. 55-55. One more time. Yeah, that's that Daft Punk shit. I wanna celebrate. That was the cartoon video, but it was the whole movie, yo, is called 55-55, yo. And then they did this other movie too called Electronica, which is fucking trippy as shit, yo. But yeah, Daft Punk, all the way from their Homework album to Discovery to that what came after Discovery? More Than Human? Or what was the title of that album? Oh fuck, I'm forgetting the titles of their album. I know the last one was Random Access Memories. That shit did well, but that was so long ago. But that's how Daft Punk do, man. They only put out an album like every 5 or 6 years. Oh yeah, yo, like Daft Punk is one of my top bands, yo. I said I got damn near everything Daft Punk. I got some of their fucking t-shirts and shit. Like Daft Punk is the shit, yo.
This song is still everywhere.
So positive. I just want to bump.
Oh, that's gonna be hard. Who's the artist?
That's what the fuck is wrong, yo. When these kids don't know who the fuck Daft Punk is, there is something wrong in our society. We as parents should be extremely alarmed right now. My son, he knows who the fuck Daft Punk is because I've played a lot of Daft Punk around him. This is gonna be hard. I don't know who that is. That's so sad, dude. It's so sad when you hear Kanye's West, faster, make it harder. Yo, that's Daft Punk samples. Busta Rhymes sampled Daft Punk. So many people have sampled these guys, and nobody don't even know who the fuck Daft Punk is. Like, come on, man.
So yeah, Good luck to you, Fergie.
This song is still everywhere.
It's so positive. I just want to bump.
Oh, that's gonna be hard. Who's the artist?
Yeah, this was definitely overplayed in 8th grade.
Love Daft Punk so freaking much. Thank you.
Do you know it?
So I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna guess Celebrate, but I don't know the artist.
The title's probably like One More Time, but I don't know who the artist is.
The song title is One More Time, but I do not know the artist.
This is One More Time. I don't remember the artist.
Oh no, I'm the only
Daft
person
Punk
who get the curse.
Celebrate.
One more time, right? Daft Punk?
Okay, so
Daft
this
Punk.
is One More Time by
55,
Daft Punk.
55.
No, Daft Punk. Dang
Yeah, this
it.
shit right here
Okay.
is-
I feel like you
this is
listen
a
to it, you
good-ass
just jump
movie,
around
yeah.
and just fist pump us in the air everywhere.
I think it was.
And there's like no dialogue. It's just their Discovery album. That's all it is. They play the whole album through, and there's a movie that goes with it. And they're the Crescent Dolls, and they're like these aliens who get trapped by this crazy music executive because he wants to use their power of music. But yeah, if nobody's ever seen Daft Punk's Interstellar 55, this is some good shit. One more time, it's gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, alright, we gonna dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate.
Like my intro to like electronica techno music.
Love Daft Punk. Big fan. They haven't come out with a new album in forever.
Cause
Daft
that's how
Punk.
they do it.
Get on it.
They don't need to, man. They'll come out when they feel like it, you know what I'm saying? Like every 5, 6 years, 7 years, they'll do some shit.
Back to not knowing stuff.
This sounds so familiar.
This song was in WWE. Wow. My bad.
Yo, okay, who is that? I don't know who that is. Can you take it up? That ain't Creed. That wasn't Creed, was it? Hold on. I don't know who that is, yo.
Back to not knowing stuff.
This sounds so familiar.
This song was in WWE. Wow. My bad.
I've heard this before.
All right, you gotta take a guess at it. At least guess. That's not Creed. I don't know why that's the only fucking band that's popping in my name right now, but could it be I don't need to Puddle of Mud. I'm thinking of everybody in the bands that are pop. I'm thinking like Papa Roach and like I don't know. Like I know it's not none of these guys. You're like, who the fuck is that? All right, they're gonna have to tell us. Take it all away. Damn. I can't even come up with nothing. Screw it.
I know it's Nickelback, so it's weird. I've never heard that song before.
Dude. Oh, I've heard this song before.
Do you know this?
I have no idea. I've never heard that song before.
I don't remember the title. I've been thinking about the artist so much I forgot he was saying the title so many times.
I'm blanking on that one. I do not know who that
it's
is.
just
I don't
like
even know who
nobody
that could
knows what-
be. Take It All Away by Nickelback.
I don't know the artist, but the title is Take It All Away.
This is Blurry by Puddle of Mud.
What kind of a name is that? What?
I don't know Puddle of Mud.
Damn, she good. Yo. You good. You good. Damn. Everybody's like, is it Nickelback? Is it Nickelback? No, it's Puddle of Mud. You okay? Okay, she got that. Damn. Okay, you good.
Wow, that's a funny. That's
somebody
an
know their
interesting
music.
band name you got there.
The lead singer Wes Scantlin wrote this song about wanting to be a good father and spending more time with his son.
Oh, that's nice. Listening to the song, I would have never thought that was what it was about.
That's so crazy how that sounds nothing like a father trying to be good to his son.
It's a good song. I gotta go back and listen to more of their stuff.
Take this, haters.
That don't kill me.
Now, that's Kanye West, which samples Daft Punk. That's the fucking song I was talking about right there. Like, everybody knew that, but you couldn't figure out who Daft Punk was, man. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. He was like, oh, wrestling. That shit wasn't a wrestling. Yeah, but this is a fucking one of his most popular songs, and it's a Daft Punk sample right there, and like nobody never like you can't tell that's fucking Daft Punk. Like, what the hell?
Okay, I did a cheer dance to this.
Wait much longer.
I know I
Got to be white now.
cause I can't get much longer.
You know, waiting all night now. That's so long I've been on ya.
That's so long I've been on you.
More Daft Punk, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Me like right now.
I miss the old Kanye. I really do.
Let's have a moment of silence. Because I used to bump his album.
Do you know this one?
I don't know the title, but I think it's by Kanye.
This is Kanye featuring Daft Punk, Make It Stronger.
It's Kanye West Stronger.
Stronger, Kanye West.
I believe it's Stronger by Kanye West.
Stronger by Kanye West.
This is Stronger by Kanye West
Kanye
in
the man,
collaboration
like,
with Daft Punk.
See, look, man, like Kanye saying some crazy shit now. That cause this motherfucker done seen too much. He just know too much. And now when he try to talk to people, he try to say too much shit at one time. And everybody is all like, oh, I miss the old Kanye. I miss the old Kanye. You can't miss the old nobody. Everybody grows and matures and develop new concepts about what they consider to be reality. You know what I'm saying? So you can't wish for the old Kanye or the old Eminem or the old Nas. That's a 20-year-old man, a 22-year-old man, 25-year-old man, and now these motherfuckers are in their late 30s and 40s with kids and shit now. They see the world different. They think about shit differently. But everybody's like, oh, I miss the old Kanye. Well, motherfucker change over years, yo. Shit happens and shit changes, yo. What's up, man? Boozy.
Yeah, that was a spot on.
I'm so proud of myself this whole episode. I'm never this good at this. Like, yes.
This is based on Daft Punk's song Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. Daft Punk allowed Kanye to place his rapped lyrics over their electronic pop rhythm, and we're very happy with the final version.
I didn't know that, but now that you say that, I didn't know that. I could separate the sounds now.
He's the king of mixing things together to just make hits. Like, I don't know how he does it.
I don't listen to 2000s music on the regular, like, or at all. So I'm kind of decent. I
definitely 100% prefer 2000, like early 2000s music rather than like whatever we have today. Because today it's all like screaming the same word over and over again.
I feel like music that we need to come out with now needs to go back to stuff like that.
Thanks for watching Do They Know It on the React channel.
Don't miss out. We have new shows every season.
They just tallied up the scores, and seriously, only one person knew Puddle of Mud. Like, nobody else knew it but one person. That was pretty good. Do teens know 2000s music? Do teens know 2000 music? Here's a different one. Do teens know 90s music? Man, you sat here for your whole break. Jesus, girl, you was a nerd. I know I'll be meeting some nerdy ass motherfuckers. So, what'd you do in your break? I watched Art and Education and did some music trivia. Oh my God, you can't say you ain't no fucking nerd. Who else do that shit? Jesus Christ, well, I know some nerdy motherfuckers, man. Hey, it's good. We all in our little circle. You know what I'm saying? That's why I do this for us. So when we on lunch break, we got something to fucking watch. Cause ain't nobody wanna watch all the other bullshit. Damn, but don't go tell nobody what the fuck you just did for 30 minutes. I had to smoke. I was outside smoking and watching Art and Education. Art and Education, what the fuck is that? Nah, you wouldn't understand, dude. Like, it's this whole thing where we debate and discuss topics and we paint, and it'd be too hard, man. You gotta, try to get it at work. Hey, the best way you can, squeeze that shit in. Like you say, if it ain't nothing but 30 minutes, get that good energy, you know what I'm saying? And go back to work and just try to ride the rest of the damn day out. You know what I'm saying? Try to make it easy on you. I sure appreciate you spending that's that shit right there that I really, truly, honestly find amazing. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got but 30 minutes of free time right now. You know what I'm saying? You on the clock, you work for the man. You ain't got but a little minute to chill to yourself and try to relax and shit. And you chose to spend that shit with me. That shit is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Cause ain't nobody do that but some fucking nerdy ass motherfuckers. Shit. I'm like, Jesus. And answer all the damn questions. Not one shit. We got going some Jeopardy or some shit. Got all the damn music trivia. That girl know I got damn music, bro. I got threads coming out. Man, damn, that whole shit about to unravel. I thought something was fucking crawling on me. I was about to jump. This shit's a goddamn thread. Get your ass off of there. Alright. Yo, Bacon Bits, I hope you have a good day. Good rest of the day at work. You know what I'm saying? Try not to slap the shit out of nobody. You know? Just remember, sometimes people don't know no better. Yo, for some reason, I still can't get my YouTube to work right on my laptop. It won't. It'll show the comments, but it won't show the image, which I guess really doesn't. It doesn't matter. Yeah, have a good one. Have a good one. All right. Hello. Are you Snoop Dogg? Yo, I wanna answer this guy. Yo, Dylan, what up? I wanna answer this guy, Dynamic, But the question is always just the obvious. No, I'm not Snoop Dogg. If I was Snoop Dogg, I would be doing something else. Like, I don't even know what the fuck Snoop Dogg does. You know? I be hanging out with some celebrities or some shit. Matter of fact, I probably would be doing this, but Kanye West and Kendrick Lamar would be here with me. Or some shit like that. I'm just saying, man. And then he just said it so politely, like, hello. Are you Snoop Dogg? Yeah. For shizzle my nizzle, what's the dizzle? Shit, I'm in the hizzle with the pizzles. Oh my goodness. You ain't know? I'm Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg, yeah. Dogg. Snoop Dogg, yeah.
Johnny, so what?
Shit, I wish I had Snoop Dogg money. Shit, if I had Snoop Dogg money, my art studio would be way bigger than this.
Motherfucking legend. Motherfucking legend. Even if I die, living legend. Look at my reflection. Ain't no second guessing. Always be a legend. A motherfucking legend. Motherfucking legend. Used to whip a Lexus. I can die right now. Still a legend. Look at my reflection. Ain't no second guessing. Wanna be a legend. A motherfucking legend. 1996. I caught 187. 80 million sold. And I ain't checked the records. Checked a couple rappers. Told them not to test me. Ask me who am I? Motherfucking legend. 50 bitches neck. Nike ain't my preference. No. Khaki with the chucks. Now look how they dress. Perfected my profession. Someone call the reverend. Bury me alive. Living legend. Motherfucking legend. Motherfucking legend. Even if I die, living legend. Look at my reflection. Ain't no second guessing. Always be a legend. A motherfucking legend. Look, big dog say bro don't matter to me. You knew niggas look matter to me. Came up with the doc, been the ring with a block. Don't compare another rapper to me. When I came and kicked the buildings over, swear I always knew I'd never be the same. Was born to be a motherfucking legend. I ain't never do it for no fucking fame. Motherfucking legend. You know what I'm rapping? 20 million 20 years ago, cuz you was like 7. Ooh, you ain't gotta like it. Nah, bitch, you gon' respect it. Yeah. Look me in my eye, motherfucking legend. Motherfucking legend. Motherfucking legend. Even if I die, living legend. Look at my reflection. Ain't no second guessing. Always be a legend. A motherfucking legend. Motherfucking legend. Used to whip a Lexus. I can die right now. Still a legend. Look at my reflection. Ain't no second guessing.
Ain't no second guessing.
Born to be a legend.
Born to be a legend. A motherfucking legend. Hey, hey. Ooh, ooh, hey, hey, ooh. Nah, y'all can't fuck with Uncle Snoop. How y'all let the old man out rap all these young boys? I'm telling you, all my old heads, the motherfuckers I used to listen to when I was in high school. When I was in high school. I was listening to Snoop Dogg when I was in high school. He still rap better than half of these niggas out here, yo. I was listening to fucking Nas and Jay-Z when I was in high school. And them cats still rap better. And then half of these like young niggas out here is like, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to Sheek Luch, Styles P, and Jada Kiss when I was in high school. And the locks still sound better than all these new rappers. Y'all, these niggas can't even fuck with the locks. Come on, man. My old heads will fuck all these young cats up, yo. 20 million 20 years ago, nigga, you was like 7. Come on. Ah, Jesus.
Check, Grease, LOX, hip hop. Ayo, put that in the air, nigga. You ready? I got it, nigga. Smoking loud with the top down. Burn on me, nigga. Come and get me right now. Yo, fiends in the hallway. Little niggas clap something in broad day. Rose gold, princess cut, pretty face, little titties, big butt. Thugged out, shit with me like nigga what? Big chain on my B-boy. We walk in, these niggas get P-Noid. 10-star, make a nigga face keloid. My 16s have your crew destroyed. LOX for niggas you wanna eat void. LOX is that hard life. More deep is that real.
Oh, not even Styles beat.
That's easy. LOX, nigga. MOBB. What? Infamous is that raw rap. You come through D-block, you get killed. Life's difficult. That's easy. LOX, nigga. MOBB. What? 100 shots to the fuck boys. 21 salute to the real G's. Live by the code. If I couldn't do that, or a rat nigga kill me. 24 karat gold handgunners. Meat seats in the coupe, yes. Rooftop party with the real gangsters. Spiral stairs in my duplex. All high and I'm looking at my bitch and my money like, what should we do next? Real nigga to a die. If I can't be real, I'd rather die. Yeah, I choose death. LOX is that hard life. Mob deep is that real. Life's difficult. Death's easy. LOX, nigga. MOBB. What? Infamous is that raw rap. You come through D-block, you get killed.
What happened? What? Oh, not kill yourself, Arch. Like, you'll be alright. Yo, MJ. What I want. Hey.
Let him see his kids or let his soul fly. In the project lobby, I ain't feeling godly. Put some coke on the floor, make it like a robbery. Manslaughter. For my thoughts alone, need holy water. Scenes from Law and Order. Saying I gotta get it. That money, my niggas with it. My killers get with it with mask on. Hey. Hope you had a couple dollars you could pass on. You know them D-block boys getting they blast on. I can pull up Dolo, known in the omen. Middle of the street.
Getting on like a Roman. Pray for me. Pull up in the middle of the street and get it on like a Roman.
Pray for me. Let us pray. When I die, what will the angels say for me? I send me to hell, probably give a K to me. To kill the devil, they know I got away with it. Tell us love first, if evil is evil, I need to. I'm dirty like a dope head needle. 180 negatives, repetitive. Crack your chest in your cranium, nigga wicked like Damien. The omen, wolf foaming, more like a light than all niggas is straight. Nigga fucking a David, ill like a reach in the sky and grab the light.
So ill like a reach in the sky and grab the light.
bow our heads. Let us pray. I'm a king from the underground. A lot of bad things happen when I come around. Yeah, 666 is my number now. Scary part of it is I ain't gotta gun them down. Nah, insane mind. Set the Bible and the flag on fire at the same time. Oof, main arteries when it's game time. Satan's offspring, yeah, I claim mine. Crazy how I can think about it and will it. Look at something to kill it. Bloodshed's the illest. Course that you ran through. Cross on the mantle. Sitting Indians down with the circle of candles. Circle of candles.
Alright, y'all can't fuck with my old heads. Word up. So, adding the third layer of paint to the skin tones, you can see where I stopped. So her face and neck area and this portion of her arm has 3 layers, and this arm and down to her hands haven't. So you can see how this is still a good bit darker than these tones right here. So what I want to do is brighten this up. She is sitting in the sun. There's going to be one more layer of paint I add beyond this. Even the background has to be lightened up a little bit more. But I want to let these bricks and everything dry. Even some more inside the storefront window, I want to lighten this area up a little bit. And then when I come back for this layer, I'm going to start detailing the items on the shelves and trying to get a representation of lettering and their logos or and whatnot, which appear on those. So still going to work on this area. Going to add some more highlights to the newspaper to make it pop out a little more. And of course the detailing on the books. So when this area is dry enough, we're going to come in and start adding the letters for the titles on each individual book and the title for the main book. Of course, we'll go here. A little more highlights on this table to pull out that wood grain a little bit more, and even in some of these shadows. So there's still a good bit of work to do. Her pants actually has a pattern that covers the entire fabric. I barely started on it, just kind of roughing out little areas. But that is something I can probably do closer towards the end. It's not a major focal point of this piece. Of course, the book is the major focal point. I want your eyes to stay here. But adding just a little more detailing to the pants will make it cool and make your eye travel and wander around the piece a little more. But my main focus for the next couple hours or so is going to be to even out some of the tones on this arm, brighten it up a little bit, and get that sunlight to pull down across her shoulder and even it out here. So you can see the light is coming here. I'm going to come back and brighten up her hair a lot more. It's going to almost be solid white in some areas. And that sunlight is coming down here and creating your shadows. So, like I say, always from with your oil paints, you want to start as dark as you possibly can from your underpainting. Your underpainting's never going to look pretty. Don't expect it to look pretty. Even your second layer of paint really isn't going to look that great, and don't expect it to look that great. You know, by the time you reach your third layer of paint and your fourth layer of paint, you'll start seeing more of your true colors, more of your true tones and hues that you want to pull out. You'll be able to do somewhat of a glaze and thin your paints down more and do a little bit more wet on wet work with it. So that's one of the main things I say about oil is just patience. Just know that you're going to paint over the canvas several times. And so some people will come in here and see a painting from the very beginning and say, well, that's too dark, and that's too dark, and that's too dark. And it's like, yes, and that's how it should be. In the beginning phases, everything should be as dark as you possibly can get it without losing your image. That way, throughout the succeeding layers of paint that you apply, you slowly pull out your midtones and slowly pull out your highlights, and you build upon all of your dark areas and all of your shadows, and that's what kind of gives it that depth of feel and that realistic, semi three-dimensional characteristic to it. So. And yo, Envy, what's up? And Dylan, if you are taking art classes, I just recently started a Patreon account. My Patreon is gonna be for anyone who wants to help support me in my art, but it's gonna be I think I'm gonna gear it more towards like real artists, and probably do drawing tutorials, and start out with simple drawing tutorials. Um, Shading and graphite, color pencil tutorials, pastel tutorials, and record those off air and put those on my Patreon channel for the like Prime subscribers or whatever, and try to get videos out to you guys, and allow the community to ask me specifics on what they want to know, certain techniques, or how I start out with even the concepts for art, for different art projects and pieces. And so I think I'll put more of my in-depth info and actual, I guess, know-how, and I'll put that up on the Patreon, but still continue to do YouTube live, because this shit is fucking fun as hell. I just like turning on the camera when I'm in the studio. And so I'm not going to stop doing this, but I think I will have like more in-depth tutorials and walkthroughs and like guides and instructions for artists who really want to try to just boost up their technical know-how. And my phone is dirty as fuck. What we was talking about? Rap. Why were we talking about that? Oh, because we listened to kids react to 2000s music, and everybody's like, "Oh, I love 2000s music," and we're all like, "Yeah, we know, because your fucking music sucks." Alright, so we're going to get a little bit of education in real quick while I start to paint. And I think I want to listen to my man right here. What the fuck? Alright, guys.
Hi, my name is Jerry Croft, and
Jerry Croft.
I'm a psych professor in California, and this is a...
Alright, you hear, he's a psychology professor from California. He's an older white dude, but he's on it. Once again, everybody I listen to them for their facts and not their opinions. And this dude right here, he's a psychology professor, but he, researches a lot of different topics outside of psychology. But his shit is good. He brings you some facts, and I like him. I have not listened to this, what we're going to listen to right now. This it has a really crazy title, but it says territoriality, dominant males, sex, aggression, and the Trump presidency. So that sounds like a mouthful. And okay, so all these things right here, being territorial, being dominant males, sex, aggression, I can understand how those things kind of intertwine, even if you look at it just from a base level of just the animal kingdom. But then it says in the Trump presidency. Okay, so how are you going to tie all these things towards the Trump presidency? Let's check this out.
Book that was written many, many years ago by a name Robert Ardrey, The Territorial Imperative. He really organized all the data and gave us a picture of the male in the animal kingdom and his relationship to territoriality, which had a lot of implications for human beings as well.
I'm not that smart. I just listen to smart people all the time. Yeah, like you say, that's the first thing. All those things, when you make territoriality and dominant males, that's like the biggest brown bear or the biggest grizzly or the biggest gorilla or the biggest lion. And I don't know. So yeah, so immediately it makes you think about the animal kingdom. But of course, humans are animals. And we do have a reptile brain. So, alright, I'm going to stop talking. I do want to see how he ties all this shit together, though. Let's see. This is roughly an hour and a half long.
And gave us a picture of the male in the animal kingdom and his relationship to territoriality, which had a lot of implications for human beings as well. He had a concept of proprietors and intruders. There are males in the animal kingdom. These are male lions whose job it is to secure resources and protect their borders and to scare off and defeat any possible intruders. It's a great male drama between proprietors and intruders in the animal kingdom, and it covers everybody. This is a bird with his colors who flies up from the south and secures a piece of real estate, and this is where they will nest. This is where resources are, and he makes a loud call saying, "This is my piece of real estate. Do not tread on my terrain."
This display by the male in the foreground is directed at the male in the background, a strong signal of territorial ownership. Resources at stake include food.
So our little bird flies away, intimidated by the alpha male. This is happening all over the animal kingdom. So let's look a little deeper into territoriality and its relation to sex and genes and the alpha male. Here's a study, biologists did this study. They were watching sage grouse males, cocks, 355 of them, gathered around 141 hens during mating season. They fought and fought and fought to carve out what I call stamping grounds, and then the most powerful males bred 3/4 of all the matings were accomplished by only 4 dominant males. The other 351 didn't get much of an opportunity. So it seems to be survival of the fittest, strongest. Those are the genes that are spread, and that is what the male seems intent on doing. And it's so these are 2 male elephant seals who are fighting for breeding rights. Sometimes they can be as large as 3,000 pounds, considerably larger than the female. Sometimes these fights last to the death. Now, their job is a smaller male may have maybe 10 to 12 females in his harem. A larger male could have 100. Now, there are often intruders who come to see if they can also breed, and they're scared off by the guardian proprietor male who chases them off and protects his property.
Gelada baboons. Geladas live in small family groups consisting of a breeding male plus a harem of up to 6 females and their offspring. They're also known as bleeding heart baboons because of the distinctive red heart-shaped markings on their chests.
So we have, again, male displays, male dominance, and multiple females through which the genes express themselves and get propagated. Here is another alpha male display and a female peacock, and the spreading of the genes, as it were. Now, everywhere you look, now, by the way, this is not universal, but it is predominant in the animal kingdom. The male has his resources include females as property. That's his resource, his genetic resource. And when other males come, he scares them off or attacks them. There he goes. When we look at the human landscape, the territorial thing seems to get a bit diluted, but we can see traces of it almost all over the place. This is almost a literal trace of it. Here's King Abdul, an alpha male, and his 30 wives. And he has 35 children. So obviously, King Abdullah, who is wealthy and has resources and net worth, also seeks to breed with his harem of 30 females. This is a man in the Arab world, in this part of the world. If you have the money, you can have more wives. He has 4 wives and 40 children. This guy is attracted to male displays and uniforms and clothing, and Muammar Gaddafi had an entourage of female bodyguards. One woman wrote a book about Gaddafi and said that he was a serial rapist, and he had sex 4 to 5 times a day. But I don't know if his intent was to have children and to breed. That's another issue. But this is probably the leading alpha male in human history, Genghis Khan, who fathered 20,000 children. Okay, that's Khan's Y chromosome spreading across the earth. Approximately 8% of all males in Asia today are descendants of Genghis Khan. Now, we think of this as backward and primitive in the developed world, but actually the trailings of the territorial thing, whatever we're going to call it, only the areas in black forbid polygamy. The areas that are not in black allow it, permit it, or tolerate it, and so it's a sign of our backwardness, in a sense, that we are still involved in this process. Now, in the West, a man who captures females and holds them prisoner is a criminal. And there was a guy in Cleveland who captured 3 females, locked them in his basement for 11 years, and he was sentenced to 1,000 years in prison.
He is perhaps one of the most evil men in America. But before Ariel Castro was sent away to serve his life plus 1,000-year prison sentence, one of his victims had a chance to confront her tormentor in a packed Cleveland courtroom.
So she told him what it was like to be a prisoner. And here's another criminal, Charles Manson, and his harem of 3 females in this case. So the idea that women are your property, your resources, your breeding resources, is actually codified in law. It was called coverture. And it said in British law, the common law of marriage gives the custody of the wife's person to her husband so that he has a right to her even against herself. And that doctrine lasted for centuries. That's straight out of the animal kingdom almost, right? So when we think of feminism and in a Darwinian timescale, it is really very, very recent. A woman could own property in the United States by herself only after 1839. A woman could wear pants in the U.S. Congress only in 1969. Even today, there are 9 million Saudi women, regardless of economic and social status, who are prohibited from studying, traveling, working, accessing government institutions, undergoing medical treatment or surgical procedures, including childbirth, without the consent of their male guardians. Just like that Siberian deer was guarding his females, we see the remnants of this territorial thing in human behavior and human anthropology. So let's take a look at some more residual effects. 78% of males have had fantasies of having sex with 3 or more women. They don't act it out, but it's still in the silt of their unconscious. If you look at males' sexual behavior in the history of their existence, the number of men who've had 21 or more sexual partners, almost 1 in 5 men have had 21 or more sexual partners. Only 3% of women make that claim. So men are still out there spreading their seed, even though in the modern world they're not particularly interested in breeding. Now, another residual effect of this male territorial matter is infanticide, inclusive fitness, and the Cinderella effects. If an alpha male in the animal kingdom attacks another alpha male and takes over his harem, he's interested in spreading his genes, is he not? So what is he going to do with all those children that other alpha male had? Is he going to be a good stepfather? No, he isn't. His intent is to kill off all of the competitors' babies. Now, I censored this. Here's our alpha male, but he sees a female with a baby. And the females run away, trying to protect their infants, but his job now is to destroy all those babies and procreate all of his own. It's kind of very difficult to watch. Now, inclusive fitness is a doctrine that says the closer the genetic relationship, the more caring and nurturing you are. The further the genetic relationship, the greater the competition. So you care for your own. A bird's grandmother will nurture that baby bird like the mother will, but further away, that nurturance falls off. Now, in the human landscape, the Cinderella effect, Cinderella was a stepchild, right? Well, we see the same phenomena. Fathers who are stepfathers, okay, who have stepchildren, they still spend twice as much time with their own progeny as they spend with their stepchildren. There's a certain kind of bias in there, isn't there? Child abuse, that is, sexual abuse, neglect, and violence occurs 5 times more frequently with step-parents than with natural parents. The genetic relationship is further, the abuse grows. Children who are murdered are 40 to 100 times more likely to be killed by a step-parent than by a natural parent. So the biological inclusive fitness is governing that, and in the same way that you see these things in the animal kingdom, but with certainly a little less violence. They don't kill off their babies quite as much. Now, some guy, I think it was Lionel Tiger, or maybe it was Robert Ardrey, called it the territorial male biogram. I liked that term. It's like the script for males. And it's the question is it genetic? And some studies have pointed out it is genetic, but it's not one gene. It's a group of genes. But it's a script that males, whether they're wasps or birds or Siberian deer, seem to follow. Now, let's talk the second issue here. I have 5 issues I'm going to bring up. The second one is the role of testosterone in all of this male territoriality. So, boys, prior to puberty, have relatively high voices, okay? And then something happens. Now, sometimes YouTube doesn't allow you to show copyrighted songs, so I thought I would just be prepared and illustrate this same thing again. But before we get there, a statistic. After puberty, men produce 10 times more testosterone than women. By adulthood, men weigh 15% more than women and are generally 6 inches taller. Something happens at puberty. Now here's
So you boss more people around? You think that's all we do at CAP is boss people around? Basically, yeah.
And after puberty, those voices change and become deep.
How sweet the sound.
All right, so there's a lot to talk about when we talk about the role of testosterone.
Powerful. At the same time, one of the most mysterious hormones we know about. All mammals, and indeed many other species, have testosterone. It does one thing, and one thing only. It causes males to be able to reproduce. But in that simple sentence lies great complexity. Because in order to reproduce, you have not only to be fertile, you have to be sexy, you have to be competitive, you have to be aggressive, you have to be attractive. And all these things, testosterone plays a major role. And that means it has lots of other things it does as well, like male bonding. Because males have a function in society, which is to protect society, to protect their group, to defend against enemies, particularly for young men. Therefore, testosterone makes men like taking risks, like having thrills. And so testosterone is found not only in reproduction, but in all aspects of society, including the way we behave, the way we organize ourselves, the way we fight wars, why we have street gangs. But it also enables him to carry out the sorts of behavior which are essential for successful reproduction, like the sense of competing with other males, the desire to win, the ability to combine with other males to form cohesive groups which both defend the society and, of course, assault and attack other societies. Much of modern human society is devoted to controlling testosterone. So we have laws and customs and religion which regulate and channel the way testosterone is expressed in our society.
The higher level of testosterone, the higher the dominance, the higher the rank, and the greater the mating behavior in primates. Now, if you look at testosterone in humans, it's very interesting. This is not quite human yet. Here's a mouse, and you can see biting attacks, which is ascending. The level of biting attacks goes up, then they castrate the mouse, and you see the level of aggressive biting attacks go almost to 0. Then they inject this mouse with testosterone, and his biting and aggressive behavior returns to almost normal, even though he's castrated. So testosterone has a close relationship with aggression and anger and competitiveness. If you look at the distribution of testosterone with age, you see it reaches a peak between 15 and 20 for the man and then gradually tapers off. Now, if you plot that against violent crime, you're absolutely astonished. Look at that. I mean, it's almost as if violent crime, graph on the bottom, is perfectly correlated with the level of testosterone in a male. Now, criminologists say, hey, it's not that simple, but it certainly is an important correlate. Now, it is related to crime in many, many respects. For example, all homicides in the United States, 90% of all homicides are committed by males. And of those, remember, the two elephant seals are fighting. What are they fighting over? Access to the female, access to resources. 78% of all homicides in the United States are males killing other males, just like our elephant seals and our deer and our chimpanzees. Don't forget that the male biogram, the territorial biogram, has men searching for resources, which is money. And so 85% of all burglaries are committed by males. And of course, 98% of all rapes. So the territorial biogram involves aggression, strength, competition, testosterone, and loud voices. Loud, deep voices. So I wrote to this professor who did a study in Russia on these deer. Some were domesticated and some were wild, and he measured their voice pitch and their loudness. And the wild deer had deeper voices and a louder pitch. The purpose of that is twofold. First, it discourages other males, and secondly, it attracts females. Loud voice, deep voice, male displays. Here's a alligator mating season. So this alligator has been doing this for 17 million years. The deeper the voice, the more it scares off competitors, the more it attracts females. Now, males are involved in this process of display of their testosterone, their secondary sex characteristics. This is where I started this investigation, and I was really surprised. It was my view that men who like muscle cars and hot rods with deep exhaust sounds, who have subwoofers bouncing down the street, making loud, deep noises, that they're primitive, they're backward, that women do not get attracted to this, that this was a male fantasy, a male delusion. That's how I started this. But then I ran into empirical data that challenged that. And I'm afraid it's less of a delusion and a fantasy than it seems. So men are attracted to muscle cars that make deep, loud noises, and they often attach females to the muscle car as if you have a muscle car, as if you have muscle, you get the female, okay? And it's part of the advertising, part of the cottage industry, that the loud, deep male voice is somehow going to attract females. So this is where I was actually surprised. I saw a couple videos of men who had souped up their cars with deep, 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 dark sounds. And then they asked women to watch them. And it seemed as if in these videos, women not only liked it, but they were aroused. there are a couple other reasons.
Oh, you better believe I got 2 15s in the trunk of my car. These motherfuckers got them custom shit, got like 10 18s and shit.
So I thought this was maybe just a cottage industry, that when these are videos that are promos and that turning your car into a muscle car and getting your subwoofers and you'll get the females, and I thought, is this really true, or is this still an extension of that male fantasy? Do women really, those women seem like they experience arousal. So I started looking for more solid empirical research, and this was a survey by, I think it was an insurance industry, asking women, what kind of car does a man need to drive for you to be attracted to that man? Okay, and again, this was a surprise. 32% of the women said they are attracted to a man who drives a pickup truck, and 27% were attracted to a man who drove a sports car. That's almost 60% of the sampled women who want a man who is an outdoorsman, who's masculine, who's risk-taking, who's out there in the world with his pickup truck and his flashy sports car. You would think that a woman would be attracted to a man who would be a good father, a good provider. They were asked, what if he drove a minivan? Well, 2% of women would be attracted to a man who was driving a minivan. Okay? It's not going to work. But there's a lot more empirical data here. There was another more clinical study done of the deep voice, loud voice, deep display, and they took the sound of car engines and they tested men and women with saliva samples. They measured stress in the male saliva for cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Remember, deep, loud voices make males stressed. They're programmed to have a stress reaction. There's a competitor in the area. Women, on the other hand, are allegedly aroused by it. So they wanted to investigate that, and they started with various sounds. Then this began at a baseline with the VW Polo. We don't have that in America. It is a European car. This was a European study. And guess what? Nobody reacted to the sound of the VW Polo. Men did not experience stress, and women did not experience arousal. But for the Lamborghini and the Ferrari, both men reacted with stress and women with arousal. They didn't see these cars, they just heard them. Now, in this study, the Maserati was played. And the sound of the Maserati made 100% of the women react with arousal. So Maserati heard about this study and decided to craft a television commercial around that study. So here's just a portion of the Maserati commercial. That's a peer-reviewed study that got a lot of publicity, isn't it? I wrote to an expert in female sexuality in Canada. She told me to write to an anthropologist at Penn State, who I will quote here. he and I had an exchange. I wanted to know, is it true that women are aroused by deep voices or loud, deep sounds? And he said his research shows that women are attracted to men with deep voices, and attractive is not the same as aroused. That is, they are attracted to men with deep voices because of their leadership, because they exude a sense of confidence and authority, but not, he does not have any data that says they are aroused sexually from that. He says, on the other hand, he doesn't have any data that says that's not true. So he can't disconfirm it. So it's interesting that this is not a mere male fantasy. Here's more data on that. Men with lower voices had higher levels of testosterone. Well, that makes sense. Women favored men with lower voices. 500 women were sampled. Men felt threatened by men with lower voices. Okay, we established that earlier. A lower pitch made men attractive to women, but it especially made men seem more dominant to other men. That's David Putz, the guy I wrote to at Penn State. A second study corroborates Putz's findings that deeper male voices women react more with attraction. And also, this has surprised me, men with lower voices had more children than men with higher voices. Another one is that men who drove sexy cars, they didn't listen to them, but they drove them. They had an increase in their level of testosterone while driving the car. Here's Barry White.
Gubernatorial.
A Motown singer.
Doohickey.
I thought Doohickey would have been a little higher up.
This is a very young Jon Stewart interviewing Barry White.
I don't have the slightest idea.
Yeah? Right, but you've got that enduring sound that seems to last on.
I'm very fortunate.
You're very, I just want you to talk. I don't care what you say. You could order chicken McNuggets from me right now, and I'd get them and love it. Yeah.
Now, in pursuing this a little further, again, signs of testosterone, signs of body hair, muscle, facial hair. So, in a study of 8,000 women published by the New York Times, men with visible stubble or beards were preferred over clean-shaven men. Even when they were asked about a male with whom they could have children and settle down, you'd think they would take the clean-shaven guy with the minivan. But no, the more the facial hair, the better. So women are also responding to this territorial biogram with these reactions. Okay, so let's talk for a second here about Sigmund Freud. Remember, I'm a psychologist, so this is Freud's iceberg, where you see at the conscious level it's white, but most of our behavior is unconscious. So we don't know why we want a muscle car, we just want a muscle car. It's an instinctive reaction. Jung had a very similar idea. The area in orange is unconscious, and the area in gray is small but conscious. Let's go back to Freud's iceberg without all those fancy terms, okay? And look at this from that perspective. From the conscious perspective, our 21st century image of a male is that he is, or he should be, monogamous, caring, empathic, believing in equal rights, gender equality, sharing in child rearing, a good husband, a good partner, a good father. Okay? That's our image of a decent gentleman. Okay? But on the darker side, in the shadow, in the underside of this, there's the male as territorial, as dominant, seeking multiple sexual partners, seeing women as objects and property, involved in sex, power, aggression, competition, then the will to win. These are the traits of that residual but diluted male territorial biogram. Now the guy on top probably drives a minivan, and the guy in the bottom either drives a Hummer or wants to drive a Hummer. Now, again, in the human landscape, we have a distorted, diluted territorial biogram. The deer wants females to breed. The modern 21st century male promiscuous is not out there to breed. He's out there to dominate or involved in eroticism. But when the instinctive side of him talks, the message is one is not enough. And when a man acts out on that, it's reprehensible, it's embarrassing, it's socially unacceptable, it's compromising, it's often illegal, it involves apologies, it involves disgrace. Okay? So Anthony Weiner was a brilliant congressman, but he had this need to show off his private part, and he had to resign. This man we know was married, but he similarly wanted something more. Elliot Spitzer, brilliant prosecutor in New York, was caught with a prostitute and resigned in disgrace. Then, of course, we have this guy and this guy in the tabloids. But again, these men are not trying to breed with these women, are they? It's a question of dominance, it's a question of eroticism, but it's not a literal translation of the male territorial biogram. It is a dilution of it. Okay? So let's go to our third topic here, which is territoriality displays plumage and blood kinship. Another concept. People who are birds who have the same coloring hang out together. They take care of each other. Genetic connection. The closer the genetic lineage, the greater the protection and the greater the nurturance. Now, when we talk about males and kinship, when we see a flag is a symbol of territory. Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom. And that flag represents a number of symbolic things. First of all, it's a territory. It is a piece of real estate. Okay. Secondly, it represents kinship. According to psychohistorian Lloyd DeMause, a flag represents blood kinship. The English have the same similar genetic background, food, culture, language, and territory. But another thing to remember about a flag is that it's generally colored red. Of all the colors of the world's flags, red is the most predominant color. Brown occurs 7% of the time. Why? Blood, red. That's the key. That this territory has been earned by the sacrifice of other alpha males who have given their lives and spilled their blood for this territory. Okay? And it is therefore sacred. It represents the blood of the martyrs who have fought to the death in order to secure this property for all the rest of us. So flag desecration and desecration of national anthems is generally forbidden. It is often illegal. Some countries punish it by death. So the flag represents an awful lot, but mainly territory and the blood of the martyr alpha males who have sacrificed themselves to secure this territory for all of the rest of us proprietors against all those intruders. Book by Lionel Tiger, an anthropologist, called Men in Groups. And this is a brilliant book, and he calls Homo sapiens the planet's greatest predator. And he does so because we may not be that strong, but our cognitive capacities allow for a very elaborate social organization, which allows men to gather in groups and hunt in hunting bands and bring down the greatest game. Outside of the mosquito, we are the greatest predator on Earth and the most successful, primarily because of our social organization. Men in groups, in hunting bands. Now, chimpanzees can also fight and hunt in groups, but Homo sapien males seem to do it best. Now, the character of the male social group is bonding. If there's a band of people, a platoon, an army, a hunting band, and one person is a defector or a coward, then the entire group is threatened by the absence of one of the constituent parts. So loyalty and cooperative enterprise are essential. Semper fidelis, always loyal. Defectors and cowards are generally punished throughout human society. And the loyal band is sometimes more important than family. In the Mafia, Marlon Brando says, "Don't tell me what they said about me. Tell me why they were so comfortable to say it around you." Meaning, your loyalty might be questionable. And that's very, very important. So the brotherhood of males involves secrecy. It involves tattoos, initiation rites, loyalty to the group above all. That's a prison gang that you see. And in modern terms, it's often street gangs, but the history of human gangs goes all the way back to the very beginnings. This is a Russian mafiosi with the Godfather, but we have establishment male gangs as well. Now, males form secret brotherhoods with symbols, initiation rites, rites of passage. In early times, the young boy had to go out and kill something in order to prove his manhood so that he could join the fraternity, the phratriarchy, and even more established symbolic traditions like bar mitzvah and confirmation do the same thing. These are rites of passage for boys to become men and then to join their secret societies, like the Freemasons, the Mafia, the Knights Templar, the Black Hand, the Bohemian Club in California,
Skull and Bones,
the Illuminati, Skull and Bones. George Bush was a member. The tattoos and symbols are often territorial, like that upper left shows you the tattoo for the Glendale Gang of Arizona. This Aryan Brotherhood prison gang comes from California. This guy is a member of the Bloods in Los Angeles, and Piru is tattooed on his chest. Piru is named after a street in Los Angeles. So many of these things are extremely territorial. Now watch this little video about gulls, because it has something to do with gangs.
Greater black-backed and herring gulls breed on Appledore Island off the New England coast. Here the gulls court, mate, nest, and fledge young, all in 3 short months. But these two species are both predators, eating anything they can catch, kill, and tear apart, including other gulls. How can thousands of birds, each a potential predator on the eggs and chicks of their neighbors, coexist on a 95-acre island? The gulls use these signals to carve out and hold small territories spaced just 4 to 5 meters apart across the rocky island.
While these animals carve out territories which they defend with their lives, this is a map of Los Angeles, and this is the territories carved out by the gangs of Los Angeles, the Venice Crips, the Graveyard Crips, the Bloods, up to 10,000 males who are involved in this.
Gun, stray bullets get tossed around, people get hit. I'm a Crip. If anybody step into my vicinity, I'm going at you to the fullest extent.
This notorious gang is known for its flashy lifestyle and violent ways.
You come around over here, we gonna tear your head off.
Remember that male gangs, generally in the animal kingdom, are there to secure breeding rights and resources. So what are the gangs in Los Angeles doing? Well, they're securing resources generally through extortion and through the drug trade. In the animal kingdom, we have two really major forces of... Now, there are matriarchies, but when we talk about the male thing, the biogram, there are two major forms of governance. One is the domination by a single dominant male ruler, and the second is the governance by a coalition.
You fix the red part? No, I didn't have to fix it. That's how it started out. You can still see the red underneath the brick. The bricks had to be really red to start with so it can look like it. So yeah, that dark red is still under there. The dark red is still underneath these bricks. Yeah, everything got to start out with the base layer. Your base layer is always darker.
Of dominant males. Okay, now if you look at there are some lions who are there often to protect the supreme alpha leader with a coalition of subdominant males. Now, if you look at human society, and we forget about our political lexicon, it's amazing how human societies are dominated by those same two forms of governments. First, dominant single male rulers, kings, czars, caliphs, dictators, tyrants. Okay, ferocity and fierceness is their legacy. But there are also more secular types, strongmen and dictators who rule with an iron hand. This is the rule by the single dominant male, alpha male. Now, there is also a thought that if we take away our political lenses for a second, we have governance, but a democracy generally, empirically, is a government of a coalition of dominant males. If you look at the United States Congress,
dominant white males.
For the last 200 years, the red represents males. So the United States may call itself a democracy, but it really is a government led by dominant males. And if you look at the Senate for 200 years, the blue is women, okay? But you can see, if you're just an empiricist here, that America is governed by dominant males. And if we were to look at their ethnicity, it is a government ruled by dominant white males for the last 200 years. Mm-hmm. Susan B. Anthony tried to vote and was put in prison. So it's not merely an American phenomena. Males govern, 75% of France is governed by dominant males. Hungary, 90%. Japan, 90%. Turkey, 85%. So dominant males in the animal kingdom control resources. And in the human world, that means net worth, that they're wealthy. So a congressman, for example, compared to the average American, is 73 times more powerful or dominant than the average American person. And the senator is 205 times more powerful because that's how much wealth they have. So when we talk about our senators and congressmen, we really are talking about dominant males who control resources. These 8 dominant males have as much wealth as half the planet Earth. And by the way, most of those guys are Americans. At demonstrations, they tend to be highly populated by men.
Really dramatic scene, and I put on my flak jacket because you can see we now have some serious clashes.
All right. That being said, our last subject here on territoriality is the role of sport and ritual. The territorial imperative is kind of symbolically acted out in sports, and it's very instructive what sports tells us. The word in Latin, the term fan, it means fanatic, from fanaticus. It means a person who is somewhat insane and divinely inspired in a frenzy. Fanaticus, a fanatic. Now, in ancient times, sport was a life and death event held in a coliseum where people watched someone fight to the death. Hemingway wrote a book on bullfighting in which he said bullfighting is an ancient sport because someone dies in that arena. But in sports, we have substituted or sublimated victory and defeat for life and death.
Yeah,
so we don't have people dying in sporting contests, but we do have bands of males fighting over territory in our major sports. Now, there are female sports, yes, but we're talking about the major historical legacy here, which is bands of males fighting other bands of males for yardage, regardless of the sport. A band of males groups together and fights for a victory of placing an object into a female receptacle. That seems to be the goal. There it is in hockey. You shoot an object into something that catches it. There's a very sexual nature to subconscious objective of sporting events. Now, there was a man who wrote a book, believe it or not, called Sperm Wars. And he said there are many species where the female copulates with multiple males. And in the vaginal tract of that animal, sperm differentiate into groups of one male fighting off groups of another male so that one will get through and score and fertilize the ovum. Now that sounds preposterous, but it's actually true. The reproductive tract inside a female chimpanzee, quote, this is from Sperm Wars, becomes the battleground for a sperm war that takes place over the course of several days. Only one sperm among all of the billions within her vaginal tract and uterus can win the prize of fertilizing the egg. In fact, only a very small percentage of sperm, possibly as little as 1%, are even capable of fertilization. The rest, the other 99% of sperm, consists of what are called blockers, or kamikaze sperm. Their function is to prevent the sperm of the other males from reaching the egg. Here's a video of that.
We took the view that maybe these have a role, and it struck us that what they could well be doing in sperm competition, instead of trying to fertilize eggs themselves, is to try and stop other male sperm from fertilizing eggs, either by just getting in their way, blocking passages through the cervical mucus, wrapping themselves around them, or doing something much more dynamic and exciting, like roaming around trying to kill sperm from other males. And so, because that's kamikaze type behavior.
Now, the word epiphenomena, which is part of the title of my book, is that one level is reflected or mirrored in another level. When you look at cellular level of sperm and you look at sports is kind of like acting out what is going on at a cellular level. And sports is also an epiphenomena of what's going on in the real world. I mean, between the Kurds and ISIS, there are two bands of males in the real world fighting over territory. And you see that in sports, and you see that down there in this vaginal tract of the...
And this is because in most species, a female will mate with multiple males. And therefore, within a female reproductive tract, there can be, for example, sperm from multiple males directly competing in literally the race to the egg.
If you look now, the proprietor sperm are fighting the intruder sperm, and only one gets through to fertilize the egg. That's what's kind of happening in sports. You have a band of males, but only one male gets through. There's only one male that gets through to make the score. In football, it's the same story. Only one gets through and penetrates the barriers of the proprietors or the intruders. The same is true in soccer or European football and in hockey. There's only one scorer. Now, when that scorer makes a point, there's a kind of an orgasmic cry of victory.
Näissä tilanteissa enemmän. Jos itse olisin coach, niin laittaisin hänet ilman muuta juuri näissä tilanteissa. Koko vaikka autoksi, siinä on Kaapolla paikka. Nyt muuta lähdetään hakemaan. Kaapo!
Barrera again, he puts it across, it's a no goal. Goal!
Viva Mexico. So the fans, in the meantime, who are watching this symbolic ritual acted out, our fanatics are in a state of frenzy. They're waving their territorial flags from their particular country or city or town or college stadium. They have all sorts of symbols that signify this territoriality, and they get worked up into a state. Makes a very interesting point about, we're going to get back to sports in just a second, but he talks about Pearl Harbor and the inspired lunacy of the proprietor. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, a lot of college students thought they were against war, that war was not a way to solve problems, and then suddenly when Pearl Harbor was bombed, everybody forgot their intellectual ideas, and the inspired lunacy of the proprietor had occurred. The intruder had not. And they didn't have to draft many people in World War II. They just dropped out of college and went right to the draft board and volunteered to fight for their land or their country. America had been attacked. There was one experiment done by a biologist who took a fish, put it in an aquarium with some rocks, and that fish developed a sense of territoriality over that spot. Then the guy dropped in other fish. Well, this proprietor fish attacked the intruders. And even when he dropped in bigger fish, the proprietor attacked every kind of fish that came close to his homeland. And the intruder fish lost 4 times as often as the proprietor fish. Here's a little blue fish attacking anything that comes by his home. There he goes. This little fish here attacks a human being who comes near his nest. So proprietors are really quite strong and ferocious and full of frenzy and fury. Home teams in sports, in Major League Soccer, win 69% of the time against the intruder visiting team. Home teams in the NBA win 62% of the time. This is data collected over decades. Okay? Home teams in the National Hockey League win 59% of the time against the visiting team. In football, the home team wins 58% of the time. Okay? In baseball, the home team wins 54% of the time. Now, an enterprising researcher said, I'll bet you the testosterone of the home team is higher than the testosterone of the visiting team. So he measured the testosterone level of the home team before the game and the visiting team. Who do you think had higher testosterone levels? The home team has higher testosterone levels before the game. So this is a very interesting observation that comes from the animal kingdom about protecting the homeland. All right, a very, very important concept. Okay, so let's summarize here. We've talked about the male territorial biogram. We have males in the animal kingdom fighting all along the evolutionary ladder for 2 major purposes: for resources and real estate, and for breeding rights, so that the strongest and fittest male populates the tribe or the species with those genes. And we see this too. This testosterone-laden alpha male has two functions across the animal kingdom. First, to scare off other competing males and to attract the female. Now, in the human landscape, the territorial imperative or biogram has been seriously diluted. It's weakened, or let's put it this way, buttoned up. All right, so there are the social, either the male suppresses himself or the social order makes it reprehensible for males to engage in this kind of dominating behavior, promiscuous behavior. So
he's saying basically the same thing I always said. Modern Western society stops a man from being what he truly should be, a fucking man. Especially if you're a fucking alpha and you're dominant, but you're restricted by so many fucking societal statutes that you just have to contain yourself.
So polygamy and murdering other males and robbery are generally illegal in the modern world.
Yeah, generally illegal.
Nonetheless, there are still signs, trailings of the territorial biogram. Men still fight and compete with one another. They are still primarily responsible for most of all violent crimes and burglaries, and men continue to be interested in display of the alpha male resources, power, testosterone, wealth, from mega mansions to muscle cars. Now, there's another element here, a trailing. Men do not seek to have multiple females to breed with, except in very small segments of the planet today. But men continue to have fantasies of being surrounded by multiple females, if not in reality, then in the literature they read. Playboy magazine, there's Hugh Hefner for you. So there is a large segment of the male community that still has the shadow of the territorial biogram. Now, we see and reenact all of this drama out in sports, where bands of males gather against other bands of males for yardage, to place an object in a female receptacle, in which fans who are fanatics watch and vicariously participate in these territorial victories of one band of males, of proprietors, against another band of intruders. Human males often aggregate in groups, originally as part of the collective hunt for resources and game. But in the modern world, they may be bands of tattooed males in urban street gangs involved in extortion and drugs, or they may be establishment males who secure resources through legal means by providing tax breaks for themselves. Most governed territory on planet Earth is carried forth either by single dominant males, despots, dictators, or monarchs, or by coalitions of powerful, wealthy, dominant males in parliamentary democracies. So this completes our tour of territoriality. It comes from my book, The Psychic Immune System, and those are the page numbers where this research comes from. Now, I did a talk here, an original talk on this called Chaos, Violence, War, and Barbarism, Why Humanity and Peace Will Prevail. It was about whether or not we have a psychic immune system that operates as a reflection of our physical immune system, and that protects humanity from our violence, our impulsivity, our tendency to go to war, and that it does to our psychopathology what the physical immune system does to pathology, germs, viruses. So this was the second lecture. There were a number of constituents in the psychic immune system, 11 of them altogether, and one was territoriality and competition. So this is the dark side of the human condition, true, but territoriality is related to human survival, and that's why it's part of this book. Now, let us go on to our final topic. We could take this discussion to a lot of different places. Women, sexism, feminism, women in the military, women who've given their lives to their country, women in sports, the LGBTQ issues. All of those things are derivatives of this discussion.
Thursday.
I wanted to take this to
9 o'clock.
The current situation with the President of the United States and look and see if we can draw out any important inferences, I think there are three that are worth talking about. So, let's first of all talk about alpha male symbols of dominance and Donald Trump. The word Trump in English basically means to outwit, to defeat, to destroy your enemy. You trumped your enemy. You have a trump card which defeats all the other cards. It's almost as if Trump is living up to his name because it's a name that signifies male dominance, or it signifies dominance. Now, there are other things. When an animal, like a dog, has a territory he defines, he leaves a urine signature, a scent. Wolves do the same thing. They leave their signature on their territory. Trump is a real estate developer. How much more territorial can you get? So he builds these phallic towers and always puts his name on them, and he makes an ostentatious display of wealth and power, testosterone, and resources. His name is everywhere, and he likes it that way. That is a part of his MO, his alpha male MO, my signature, my name, and my power. Now, he also has, remember, alpha males, the stronger you are, the more females you have. And that is also a symbol of dominance in alpha male issues. Here is Donald Trump as a young man on Playboy magazine, the desirable icon of women. Donald Trump's wives, he's had 3 of them, were kind of like trophy wives. They were all like supermodels, and to other males, dazzling trophies. I'm sure that's not necessarily what they meant to him, but they were women who would signify to other men that this is a powerful male. Okay, if you look at elephant seals, to return, the more powerful the elephant seal, the more females he has. We had one literal example of that translating into the human condition. That is King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia and his entourage of 30 wives and 35 children. He breeds with these females, and that's what elephant seals do. But also remember that Saudi Arabia is named after an alpha male, to the Saud family. It's kind of like Trump naming a state after himself. Now, Donald Trump does not breed with these females, but he owns the Miss Universe contest. So that's an interesting choice of investments. But from the point of view of male territoriality, of the male who has more females.
Did you know Donald Trump owns the Miss Universe contest? I did not know that. Thanks, Spotty Shadow. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Is more powerful, right? So here is a man who actually owns the venue for the most beautiful women on the planet, Miss Universe contest. Okay, so there he is photographed with. He does not sleep with these women that we know of. He does not breed with these women. Okay, but he does give that impression of being the alpha male with all of the most important, valuable females. Now, men who see all these things have actually an unconscious appreciation for them. Men like Donald Trump more than they liked Barack Obama and more than they liked Bill Clinton. They may like Donald Trump against themselves, but I don't know, but whether this is an unconscious envy or not, but men do appreciate these symbols of power and male dominance. Women, on the other hand, have exactly the opposite reaction. 47% of women like to see Donald Trump impeached. Only 32% of men want to see Donald Trump impeached. So that's a very important gender gap that is worth taking note of. Now, our second concept or inference we're drawing out here is that the territorial biogram, the proprietor patrols borders and protects against intruders. That is his main function. So there's a wall that separates the proprietor from the intruder, and that is a very important wall to Donald Trump.
that know more about the border than anybody how important is the wall, and they tell me it is absolutely vital. It's an important tool. It's maybe the most important tool that they can think of. We're going to build the wall. We have no choice. We have no choice. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall.
A cheerleader. If you looked at Donald Trump's political platform, whatever that might be, it is extremely territorial. It has to do with the proprietor. The first is, we're going to build a wall to keep out Mexicans and intruders, criminals, drug smugglers, and rapists. That's his iconic political position. However, the Muslim ban, the travel ban, is also a proprietor platform. We're keeping out Muslim intruders from our homeland. Okay? The idea that we will have to deport the intruders who have penetrated our borders and remove them, he's aggressively pursuing that as another one of his policies. The second thing is to stop the desecration of the symbols of the motherland, which is the national anthem and the flag. That's another extremely territorial political position. You could see Donald Trump's politics from the prism of male territoriality quite easily. There's another one called Trump's tax reform plan, and I'm sure you will say, what in God's name does tax reform have to do with territoriality? Well, give me 1 second here. Okay, if you look at lions, chimps, monkeys, other forms of dominant male coalitions, often the super alpha male is protected by a clan, a group of thugs called subdominant males, which Lionel Tiger called the Baboons Society, a gang of thugs. So the idea that governance in the animal kingdom has an alpha male surrounded by subdominant males is very frequent. Now, if this is his original tax proposal, I don't know what's going to be passed, but the original tax proposal was that 80% of the tax rebate would go to the top 1% wage earners. Okay, what's that have to do with territoriality? Well, the top 1% of wage earners are males. Some people estimate that it is 98% males who earn the top 1% salaries. Others say it's 88%, 12% women. So between 88 and 98% of the people who will get the tax break are the most dominant males in American society, the wealthiest, meaning most dominant males in American society. Okay? That means the most dominant males will get a check in this first proposal for $1 million a year. So that is what Donald Trump is offering the most dominant males in American society. So that means he will get support and protection from the most dominant males in American society. It's very territorial, if you think about it. Now, Trump is actually touching a proprietary nerve, even though the media is very much against Trump. A poll by Rasmussen shows that a majority of middle-class Americans support his travel ban on Muslims or people from Muslim countries. 50% support the ban. Americans do oppose building a wall. There's no majority there. But a majority are seriously worried about illegal immigration, 60%. So when he talks about illegal immigration, he's touching a responsive nerve. A majority of Americans, this you would not notice from newspaper accounts, but a majority of Americans, 64%, say one should stand and show respect for the national anthem. Okay, so the third inference I want to bring out from discussing Trump is that Donald Trump seems to be an alpha male who's aching for a fight. Is that true? Alpha males broadcast their power and their deep, low voice for two reasons: to intimidate other males and prevent aggression, from those seagulls to the Siberian deer. So is he actually trying to start a fight, or is he trying to prevent a fight, but with all of his bravado? That's a question I can't answer, but let's at least talk about how He berates and belittles his intruder opponents. He calls North Korea's leader Rocket Man, and then Little Rocket Man, and then he debates Marco Rubio and calls him Little Marco, this little guy. He says fire and fury will be unleashed if you attack us. And he also says, no, he doesn't seem to be interested in peace. He doesn't want to negotiate with North Korea. Here's a sampling of that.
Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago. Little Rocket Man. Don't worry about it, little Marco. I will.
All right, well, let's hear it, Big Donald.
Don't worry about it, don't worry about it, little Marco. This little guy has lied so much about my record.
Here we go.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
Now, there was a secret channel opened up to discuss things with North Korea. Trump found out about it and said, stop. It's a waste of time to negotiate with North Korea. So he does seem to be aching for a fight. Now, this is an issue I'd like to turn to more seriously and more globally. If it's true that Trump wants to light a fuse, let's discuss where that fuse could be lit. This is a picture of the 150 countries where the United States has military presence. Now, we don't think of ourselves as having an empire, but a lot of scholars do, and they think it's the largest empire ever to have existed on planet Earth, bigger than the Ottoman Empire by a long shot. Now, if you look at the globe from that perspective, the United States has over 1,000 military bases overseas. Russia has one. China is building one. We have 1,000. Okay, we have our tentacles across this planet. Now, if you look at where we're having wars, we are killing people in Yemen, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, Chad, Somalia, Sudan, Niger, Libya. We just killed 17 people there in August of 2017. So we're involved with military conflicts. And the question is this going to diminish or increase with our dominant alpha male in office? Let's take a look at the hot spots. Cuba, we have Trump is worried about something going on in Cuba. He's concerned about Venezuela, says something has to be done with Venezuela. In Yemen, the United States is supporting the Saudi initiative. 500,000 people have cholera there, but the Saudis don't want the Iranian-supported Houthi rebels to gain ascendancy in Yemen and control that waterway. So we're helping that problem out. It could get worse. The issues in Iraq and Syria are major. We actually have told the Syrian government that's represented at the UN they can't enter Syria. We have built a military base inside Syria, not to their liking, and we told them you cannot cross the Euphrates River into your own country unless you want to fight with us. In the Black Sea, we're rattling the Russians' cage. We built a naval base in Romania. We never would have sailed the Black Sea near Odessa during the Soviet Union's time, but we do it all the time now. And whenever the Russians get upset, we consider them aggressors. In Estonia, we built a military base 300 meters from this Russian border. Now, Trump did not do that. Obama did that. But imagine a Russian military base right across the border from El Paso, Texas, with Russian troops there. That's what we did in Estonia. In Poland, we beefed up their brigades under Trump. We're considering sending lethal weapons to Ukraine. We're really rattling Russia's cage. Also, we're very upset with China building its little islands. We have spy flights along the Chinese border twice a day in international waters, listening to their communications. They don't like that. They would like the South China Sea to be off limits, and they're building these little islands, and we don't like that. We keep testing their will on that one. And of course, there's North Korea. There are a lot of places where violence and war could erupt, right? So far, though, there have been no takers. The alpha male has made his point, rattled the cages, talked about fire and fury, and no one has attacked us, okay? So I would like to get to a conclusion here, but I need to get our... We're all very conditioned with political ideas that come from MSNBC, Rush Limbaugh, from left, right, and center. And to see the psychology of what's going on here, we have to sort of put our politics to the side. Let's take one example of that. Let's talk a minute about a contemporary issue, the zeitgeist. Is Trump a racist? Okay? His father may have had something to do with the Ku Klux Klan. We're not exactly sure, but it looks like he might have. Secondly, the whole behavior of Trump in Charlottesville, where we had neo-Nazis and white supremacists on one side, and he seemed to be almost sympathetic to them. Mitt Romney said, Trump, you need to apologize for your behavior at Charlottesville. Your remarks caused racists to rejoice. And then, of course, there's the issue of the national anthem. That seems to have completely gone over Trump's head. It's a black protest movement in the tradition of Martin Luther King. Protesting in a peaceful way, and if you might say kneeling is a respectful way, the state of black people in the United States. But that's not how he saw that issue. So maybe Trump is a racist, okay? Let's put that aside, whether he is or it isn't. There's some of the evidence in favor of it. But if we see racism and sexism, we're not going to see this other thing. So let's put that aside just so we can get to a kernel of depth psychology here, which is important, okay? First, we looked at the alpha male's parade of dominance, his buildings, his signature, his trophy wives, how he builds walls to protect against intruders, how he seems to be aching for a fight. Now,
can't get enough tobacco.
As we work towards a conclusion, take a look at this picture. What is wrong with that picture? You look at it and say, well, there's Hillary, and people are standing behind her. There's Trump, and people are standing behind him. I don't see anything wrong. If I said something is being censored, you're seeing censorship in those pictures. So I don't see any censorship. Well, Hillary's rallies were relatively small, about 371 people during the campaign. Trump's rallies were in huge coliseums. He had thousands of people showing up for his rallies. By September of 2016, Trump had over 337,000 people attend his rallies, Clinton 13,000, 24-to-1 difference. The media spliced out something, okay? So what is, this is a Trump rally. We rarely saw this parade of political ground swelling support, did we? So Trump actually called out the media one time, and he was actually successful doing it once.
But I want the cameras to span the room. Go ahead, fellas, watch. They don't turn them. They don't turn them. They don't turn them. Go ahead, turn them. Look, turn the camera. Go ahead. Turn the camera, ma'am. Turn the camera. You with the blonde hair, turn the camera. Show the room. Go ahead. They don't turn them. Why about, hey, you in the center, why don't you turn your camera? Show them how many people come to these rallies. Turn them. Go ahead, turn them. Go ahead. Thank you. That's the first time they've ever done that. Thank you. That's the first time. Amazing. Amazing.
So I'd like to make a point about that. And this is a very paradoxical point of view for, unless you have, if you've separated your politics out of this now, this might make sense. The real danger of Trump is exactly what is being censored. Okay, what do you mean by that? Forget about left and right and who's censoring. In the Soviet Union, the old days, what was censored was the most dangerous thing to the Soviet Union. Individual rights, individual travel, artistic freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. Those are the things that frightened the Soviet Union. So what is frightening American society in this censorship? Okay, that's an interesting question to put forward. Here's Carl Jung's, my mentor, psychiatrist Carl Jung, what he had to say about some of this. A group experience takes place on a lower level of consciousness than the experience of the individual. That is due to the fact that when many people gather together to share one common emotion, the total psyche emerging from the group is below the level of the individual psyche. If it is a very large group, the collective psyche will be more like the psyche of an animal. The psychology of a large crowd inevitably sinks to the level of mob psychology. Okay? Going to the level of an animal is going back to that male territorial biogram, that dog-eat-dog world of us versus them, survival of the fittest, and mob herd behavior. Now, when you light the fuse, the frenzy, the inspired lunacy of the proprietor, that little blue alpha fish protecting his homeland, it means you're inflaming and inciting a very, very archetypal, powerful emotion. And that emotion could be described as nativism, tribalism, atavism, nationalism, populism. But at its worst, it's contagion. Collective hysteria, flag waving, herd behavior unleashed by the attack of the intruder upon the proprietor. Okay? The flag and the national anthem represent blood kinship. They represent territory. They represent all the alpha males who have died for our society. It's sacred. And to defile that arouses these dark, deep archetypal emotions.
Everyone in this arena tonight are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Tried to get pictures of that crowd because it was very difficult. How big was that crowd? I thought, is it 50 people, 100 people? Sounded very loud to me. So this was his gathering. Notice that this gathering, he's standing in front of a 3-story tall American flag, wearing all the symbols of the American flag, American patriotism, red, white, and blue. Okay, talking about the national anthem, arousing the indignation, the outrage, the territoriality of the crowd, the mob, the herd. So the proprietor's duty is to protect the homeland and ensure its borders and security at all costs. So I don't want to make comparisons between Hitler and Trump. I think that's egregious. But they have two important similarities that are worth talking about. Both were extremely territorial. Evil threatens every man and every child of our great nation. We must undertake steps to ensure the safety and security of our homeland. Well, he did that, and he removed the intruders from the homeland, and that was the beginning of the Holocaust. You could inspire the lunacy of the proprietor. Now, Trump is waiting for his Pearl Harbor moment, but unfortunately it's not coming. He did not have of Pearl Harbor, no 9/11, no Gulf of Tonkin incident to set off his political platform, no North Korean attack, no Russian attack, no Iranian attack, no attacks on the homeland at all. But in the meantime, Trump is kind of teetering on the edge of collapse. 55% of the country today, this is a very recent poll, think Trump is tearing the country apart. 53% of Americans think that Trump is a bully. These are not attractive statistics. 56% believe Donald Trump is unfit to be the president of the United States. And 70% disapprove of his performance, the lowest rating in 70 years. Trump is really teetering on the edge of collapse as we speak. This is being made in November of 2017. Okay? So he's performing a balancing act, and yet the other side of that is what happens if he does manage to provoke an attack, if he does manage to have his Pearl Harbor moment. That is where his skill set is. That is what is being censored by the media. That is what he will unleash if this happens. Okay? Welcome to mass psychology and herd behavior if the alpha male is able to provoke the intruder. Essentially, this means that our proprietor has the ability and perhaps the desire to incite the frenzy, the fire, the fury, the inspired lunacy of dominant male proprietors against all intruders. Very, very powerful emotion.
I can tell you one thing, you are protected, okay? You are protected. Nobody's gonna mess with our people. Nobody is gonna play games. Nobody is going to put our people in that kind of danger. Thanks very much for watching.
This is called the American Empire Delusion, Denial, Deception. I'm a psychologist, a professor from California, and there was a poll done of Americans asking them, or should America be an empire? 90% of the respondents said no. But the more important question was, is America an empire?
Exactly. We already are an empire.
40% said no. Now, denial is a psychological defense mechanism.
Yeah. Are we currently living in an empire?
World,
yes.
You're not looking at reality. You're living out some kind of delusion. So there's a pundit named Lawrence Vance. He's written 20 books. He's head of a think tank. He says the American empire is the largest empire ever to have existed on this planet, bigger than the Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire, the British Empire. So either Lawrence Vance is out of his mind, or 40% of the American people are living in a fantasy land, on Fantasy Island. So that's the kind of the intent of today's investigation. Now, I wrote a book. It's called Duped: Delusion, Denial, and the End of the American Dream. And in that book, I talk about 6 major delusions that Americans face. Now, a delusion for an individual person is a crazy theory that you have about the world, a nutty idea. And if you act out on that delusion, you're one step closer to mental illness. Now, in collective psychology, nations also suffer from delusions. At one time, 60% of the American people believed Saddam Hussein was making nuclear weapons or developing them. And we acted on that delusion, and we killed thousands of people based on a false idea. So we're going to look now at this notion that America is not an empire or is an empire, and just what does that mean? And I think this discussion starts with Bob Hope. Now, if you're not that young, you remember who he is. He was a very famous American comedian, and every Christmas Bob Hope was going to entertain our troops. He was having after the Vietnam War, before the Korean 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, Bob Hope was gone every Christmas entertaining our troops. And you had to ask, why do we always have troops somewhere? Why are the troops always at war? So this is just a short refresher for you.
From Saigon, Long Binh, Bearcat, Da Nang, Cu Chi, Lake Nu, Mai Kay, Chu Lai, Phu Quoc, Van Rang, and Cam Ranh Bay in Vietnam. From Guam, Wake Island, and Clark Field in the Philippines. From the USS Ranger and the USS Coral Sea on Yankee Station in the Gulf of Tonkin. And from Korat, U Dorn, Tat Lee, U Ban, Nakhon Phanom, and Bangkok, Thailand. The Bob Hope Christmas Special.
So one place to begin is to look at how many places Bob Hope had the chance to visit. The U.S. military intervention since World War II. This research was staggering for me. It was just beyond belief. We have somehow had over 55 military interventions since World War II. Greece, Germany, the Philippines. There was a rebellion on in the Philippines, and the CIA directed forces against it. Puerto Rico wanted to become independent in 1950. We crushed that. In Iran, they elected a leader who was a Democrat and a liberal, and we thought he might take away our oil interests. So we supported the Shah's taking over, the overthrow of that government. And the Shah was basically thought of himself as a king and ruled for decades. And part of our problems with Iran today are the fact that we supported this monarch, despot. Guatemala in 1954 elected a government that we thought might threaten our economic interests, and the CIA started an invasion of that country and overthrew the country, overthrew the government of our balance. Here's the one.
1954. The United States intervened unilaterally to protect its vital interests. Lebanon, 1958. The United States feels its policy of containment in the Middle East is threatened. Responds openly and unilaterally. The United States intervened in Laos, the Congo, Brazil.
There are so many theories about what happened in Iraq and why we really went in, but when you look at the history of the United States, almost every president, there is something we don't like somewhere in the world, and we've got to dispense military force.
Ronald Reagan invaded Grenada in 1983.
Last night I ordered U.S. military forces to Panama.
This is not about one president or one party. We fight as a nation because we perceive it is in our interest to fight. And we then mention words like freedom and nice common values that who can be against freedom when in fact much more has been going on privately.
So we continue with this litany. Panama, 1958. Cuba nationalized our interests. We invaded unsuccessfully. Panama again, 1964. The Dominican Republic similarly had elections which put in power a government we didn't like. The Marines landed in 65, 66. Nicaragua, Honduras, Grenada, Libya, Bolivia, Iran again, Panama again in 1989. Oman and Chile in 1973, Salvador Allende's democratic left-leaning government threatened our copper interests, and he was overthrown, and Augusto Pinochet was put in his place. He was a military dictator who Spain tried to indict for war crimes, but we were his ally and supporter. El Salvador, Haiti, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, the list continues and continues and continues. This is a short video summarizing all of our interventions.
Yeah, it's crazy. Gray socks and gray thermals and gray sweats.
So that takes
got on some long gray
2009,
socks.
but that's not the end of the story. In the last 2 years, 2011 to 2012, under our Barack Obama, the United States was killing people in 9 different countries. In Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Yemen with drones, Somalia with drones, Pakistan with drones, Libya with missiles, Honduras, we landed in Honduras with Marines and as part of the war on drugs. The Philippines, we helped crush some what we call terrorists down there. And we just landed some special forces troops in Kenya. So no other country in the world is involved militarily in actions that China, Russia, nothing even comes close to what we've been doing. Media talks about these things in a rather distorted way. Not that there's a conspiracy as much as an unconscious conspiracy. It's easier to have people watch the news and buy Wheaties or Chevrolets that are sponsoring the news if those stories have some psychological relevance, if they're stories about us, if they're stories about people who are not us, that's less interesting often. To talk about us versus them, us always seems to win out. For example, here comes Diane Sawyer interviewing a soldier about his experiences in Iraq. She asks him questions about his family, how difficult it was, what a sacrifice his family made and he made. One question she never asks him, officer or sir, how many people would you estimate that you killed on your last tour of duty? 10, 15, 20? That's a question that just is completely inappropriate. It doesn't get asked. If you look at our newspapers, you read in the New York Times, so many Americans have died, 2,028 in Afghanistan. It's always there every single day. But the number of people we killed is just missing. It's not there. So we talk about our sacrifices, our soldiers, our bereaved widows, how difficult it is for military families, how much courage in supporting our troops, that the nation rallies around our troops. But we don't talk about the consequences of our behavior. Noam Chomsky says that the slogan, public relations slogan, support your troops, is a kind of diversion that prevents us from discussing whether we support the issue at any particular war that we're involved in. So there was a question that was asked of college students in Boston. These are smart kids. They have high SAT scores. Ivy League college. They're asked, how many Vietnamese casualties were there during the Vietnam War? Okay, what do college students, who are an educated group, how do they answer that? Their average answer was 100,000. That's what they thought. They thought 100,000 Vietnamese died in the Vietnam War. The answer is 3 million. Okay? How could they be that wrong? We killed 3 million people in Vietnam, and they think we killed 100,000. That's a huge margin of error. And you have to ask, how could smart people be that stupid? Okay? So the answer is in the fact that if you go to a place called the Vanderbilt Television Archives, you can look up every prime time newscast for decades. CNN, ABC, NBC, all of that. And you can search. So if you search for Vietnamese casualties versus U.S. casualties, the stories about U.S. casualties outnumber Vietnamese casualties at least 4-1. But the actual reality is, for every American that died, 56 Vietnamese died. That is a huge cognitive dissonance there. The input that is coming from the media is distorted, okay? It's completely distorted in favor of stories about us and not stories about the consequences of our actions. And therefore, college students would think, well, I guess we didn't kill that many people. So during the Vietnam War, again, our coverage was about ourselves.
These are probably
POWs,
some more of those the same socks.
Injured or killed.
Yeah, Eddie Bauer. That's like the last time I brought socks, I brought like fucking 2 packs of each socks, yo. I got an ass of these Eddie Bauer winter socks, and then I had brought a couple of packs of some Timberland winter socks that are fucking awesome. I only wear them I only need to wear them shits when it's snowing. How the fuck I get all this shit on me? Sock Wars.
Actions there. So here's a piece of Vietnam news coverage that really illustrates this point.
This is Pleiku, 250 miles north of Saigon, the air base that was ripped by Vietnamese communist guerrillas. 8 Americans died in the attack that brought swift retaliation by U.S. and South Vietnamese forces. From carriers and land bases, 49 jets struck back at staging areas just across the border in North Vietnam. The Red Guerrillas were able to slip by Vietnamese guards in the middle of the night raid and lob mortar shells into the area, while hand-carried bombs were placed under aircraft and against barrack walls. Why security was so lax is the object of 2 investigations.
No, these aren't Eddie Bauer's. But these are Timberland socks. But they're basically just like the fucking Eddie Bauer socks I have on. They're almost the same thickness and about the same quality. So these are good socks. Then I got these fucking Timberland socks. You can see the inside of them bitches, yo. That shit like wool, son. I got these last winter with the tree on it. Oh, this shit's got an ass of lint on it. But yo, goddamn, well these socks. But you don't need to wear these if it ain't snowing outside. You don't need to put these shits on, bro. That shit like a sweater. That shit like putting a sweater on your feet, yo. I swear. That shit so damn soft and fluffy, though. It's almost like, you know, them bedroom slippers that kind of feel like socks. That's what these shits almost, man. These shits so damn thick. Some good ass fucking socks. I got a couple pair of these shits. I got an ass of these fucking Eddie Bauer socks. I wear these shits almost every day. Well, it's starting to get cold, so I started wearing long socks. I got fucking an ass of and one, like the basketball shit. And one footies. Them kind of footies I like to wear. You know, and one footies though, them shits fit good. And Nike got some good footies too. Sock wars. Motherfuckers sit here and talk about socks. Why? Because we can. God damn it. You don't want to talk about socks? Peace. Trying to work them shadows into that hand. If I can get this hand done right here, I'll probably take a little break. That arm came out nice. A little shadow right here looks pretty good. And I'm about ready to play some video games. Thursday. Yo, Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out Thursday. They're not even having a midnight release. They're having a 9 o'clock release, yo. 9 p.m. What? 9 p.m. I'll be playing that shit all night. But Thursday afternoon, I'm taking a long ass nap. Don't wake me up. So goddamn Thursday night and Friday morning. Man, we might not have no art and education Friday morning. We might have some trap house and gaming going on. Damn, trap, where the painting at? What painting, bitch? Gotta get through this mission, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Gotta go sell these wolf pelts at the trade shop. Cannot wait, dude. What it is? It's art. It's Tuesday? I gotta take the trash out tonight. Tuesday. 2 more days. Man. Design socks. No. My socks don't. I had the only kind of design socks I get are like my dress socks. I'll get those with like a lot of designs on it. You ever think about how men's feet looks in socks? Interesting. I've been trying to find some foot models to do like some foot fetish art. Nobody wants me to take pictures of their toes. It's gonna be all women's feet. But see, I want like some women's toes with like a bud of weed in between the toes and stuff. To me, that's sexy. That's just, you know, my little quirk or whatever. But I think feet are pretty. I have a thing about feet. And I like weed. I just try to combine things that I like. You know what I'm saying? I like painting and I like books. I think I should paint books. Simple as that. I like pretty toes and good weed. can find some toes and weed. Paint a picture of that. That shit is gonna sell as soon as I can find the right girl with some pretty ass pedicured toes. Like, girl, let me stick this bud of weed in between your big toe. And that shit's gonna set everything off, yo. I'm telling you, that would be dope, for real, for real. And I already looked it up, like foot fetish art. It is a pretty big subgenre of art out there for foot fetish art, but I don't see anybody mixing it with weed. You ever suck your girl toes? You ever suck your girl toes while you smoke Adobe? Next level shit, son. You ever put the doobie in between your girl toes and let her hold it with her foot, and then you smoke that shit? Next, let me stop. See, I'm telling too much shit, bro. I'm telling too much right now. I'm telling on myself. What kind of socks they wear? Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I live pretty far up north, so our weather's already changing. So for the past like week or so, I've been wearing nothing but fucking long socks. There's no shorts. The short season is out of here. Like I said, I got on sweats and a pair of thermals under this bitch, and I got some long socks pulled up over my thermals. I was out and about a little while this morning, and it ain't really cold enough to turn the heat on in the house, but yeah, shit, my undergarments is fucking stupid. I got all kind of fucking thermal sets, thick ass socks. I don't play that being cold shit, man. I can't do that shit. So it's gonna be 18 degrees today. 18 degrees. Oh, I gotta put an extra layer on. You think I won't come out with an extra layer? Motherfucker has some underwear, some thermals, a pair of basketball shorts, and then a pair of jeans. And nigga, what is? I had to put on the extra layer, bruh. Extra layer. They said it was 18 degrees today. Got 2 pair of socks on. I got on a tank top, a t-shirt, a thermal, a long sleeve shirt, and then a sweater. Nigga, shit. You cold? Hell no, I ain't cold. I feel good. I feel kind of heavy. I feel weighted down, but I'm not cold. No comment. No comment. No comments. Oh, I forgot what the fuck we was listening to. Started talking about feet and socks and shit. Cough. 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 God damn it. What I'm doing? Working on the hands. Hand job. Alright. And it's been 2 hours and 52 minutes. 2:52. 2:52. Is America an empire? The American empire, denial, delusion, and deception. Of course, America is an empire. All right, but let's see what else. Let me hear what Russell Brand has to say.
$782?
This week on The Truth, we're going to be talking about celebrities and politics, obviously because Kanye West has been in the White House. Let's have a look.
There's infinite amounts of universe, and there's alternate universe, so it's very important.
So I put mocking music underneath Dear Kanye. Now, of course, when I see someone in the White House talking about infinite numbers of universes, I think, go get 'em, Tiger. It's the very sort of thing that I go around saying, of course, and I feel some sympathy for Kanye West because of my own involvement in British politics a few years ago. Typically what happens is when somebody gets involved in politics is you're accused of being like a naive ingenue, someone who ain't entitled to be in the world of politics. But, you know, if you take a glance at the man sat across the desk from Kanye there, you will see a celebrity president of the United States of America. So it's certainly not a narrative that has but one conclusion. Now, perhaps what Kanye West would argue is that the reason he's being condemned is because what he is saying is at odds with what the liberal media believes he should be saying, and to a point, he's right. You know, like, progress is going to be weird. Like, aspects of progress, if we're going to radically change the world, at some point ideas that seem bizarre to us now are going to have to be incorporated in the mainstream. You recognise that, don't you? I'm not saying that anything in particular that Kanye West is saying is true, such I love that infinite universes stuff, but unless we want the world to stay the same, the world will have to change. And if we want it to radically change, ideas that seem implausible are going to have to become plausible. Different power structures will have to come into play. So in the end, people that seem eccentric, you know, outside of the circle, are going to have to be listened to. So whilst I don't really have a strong opinion on whether or not Kanye West is right with particular regard to what he's saying, I think he's got every right to say it. I suppose one of the most obvious challenges to his credibility is that much of what he says is at odds with what would be termed the needs of the black community, the beliefs of the black community. Why listen to me, a man with long hair who's a white celebrity, instead of Kehinde Andrews, who is a black man and the professor of black studies at Birmingham University? What's he got to say? Kanye's support for Trump is following in the footsteps of a long line of black conservatives who believe that the key to successful black communities is embracing hard work, individualism, supporting the mythical black family rather than relying on the state. In short, a myth deployed by Protestantism of no particular colour, but generally white in Northern Europe, popularised by Max Weber, the idea that through work we achieve closeness to God. So that's not a racially specific idea, that's just getting the ideas of the individuals that make up the masses to align with the intentions and requirements of the state. But isn't there always an element of emotion in politics, or oughtn't there be? Oughtn't there be an expression of the needs and requirements of ordinary people? Is what we're querying the veracity of what Kanye West is saying rather than his right to say it? Does it make us uncomfortable to see a countercultural figure, a rapper, sat in that MAGA hat in the office of Donald Trump, sort of agreeing with him and cheerleading for him?
Multiple reports, his own statements, it all makes clear that he has struggled and admitted diagnoses for personal mental health issues.
I bet that bloke there who's saying that now, though, has got mental health issues. I mean, all of us at some point, don't we sort of sit slumped, crying somewhere, feeling hopeless and desperate, thinking, oh God, I shouldn't have done that, or what's my value as a person? I mean, if we're going to exclude the mentally ill from public life, you know, with a Winston Churchill, for example, I mean, like, and all of us, frankly, aren't we all a little bit on the edge sometimes? Mental illness is not something that you can attribute to individuals. It's more like a kind of psychic meme that infects us all and travels through all human consciousness. Like, I don't mind seeing people on telly that I don't agree with. I don't know enough about African American history to endorse or oppose what Kanye West is saying. I tell you, generally speaking, I would trust Kehinde Andrews on matters such as race as a sociological professor. But I don't think that Kanye West shouldn't be allowed to say stuff. What is our belief in freedom of speech unless it's just freedom of speech for people we agree with? And if we find him unsettling, we should look at what it is that's unsettling us. Is it a celebrity? Is it the content of what he's saying? Is it the increasingly obvious fact that politics is a spectacle? All those things are troubling in their way, but they do not culminate in Kanye West. He is merely one aspect of a more broadly abiding phenomenon. Thank you.
Is politics just a spectacle now? Is that all that shit is, man? Just a fucking show, man.
Considering Nissan Murano, compare it with the 2018
And I brought something for you. What's that?
Surprised.
It's the iPlane 1.
For starters, Edge Sport makes...
That's the only thing that got me, yo.
You are listening to Under the Skin.
Yo, he said he brought the iPlane. Our president need to be driving the dopest vehicles, wearing the finest clothes, the freshest clothes, driving the best cars. And Donald Trump said, it's true. It's true. Everything he said, I like this guy. I just wanted to have lunch with two people I like, and, you know, apparently they like me too. Like you, come on, man. You know I love you. Race really doesn't matter, but I don't know. I like dark polish, I like dark burgundies and black, dark reds, any dark colors, dark blues.
Now at Arby's, you can get 30 euros for $90. Or for those who aren't trying to cater a Greek family reunion, they're 2 for...
sitting up on the Renzos. Oh, head hit me with the head nod. Understood a nigga like 10 for, ayy. 10 for, 10 for, 10 for, ayy. 10 for, 10 for, 10 for. Oh, head hit me with the head nod. Understood a nigga like.
Deep conversations about language, which one you speak? A lot of niggas playing bilingual, lie through they teeth. Try to talk money, it's on the tip of they tongue. You know the feeling when the words just outside your reach. Take a few steps in, you outside your territory. Make them lean back like Terror Squad when telling stories. Or even like you got the act in you. So many different vernacular perspective and points. Went from selecting electives to collecting the coins, to rejecting investments, to connecting with legends and stressing acceptance. To fuck it, I write with my left, I'm finessing this joint with my right. To bring the light, like a key on the kite. The roll of thunder, make them pee on themselves. I see the fire, I've been drinking Freon. I'm on the corner, feel like Dion with these cowboys. Don't speak snake with these mouth boys though. No sweat on my cowboy flow. Brought the funk like an outhouse, the bumps like a bounce house, and spit like the beatbox, the heat.
Hey, pull up puffin' on the end, dog. Chevy sitting up on the Renzos. Oh, head hit me with the head nod. Understood a nigga like 10 for, ayy. 10 for, 10 for, 10 for. 10 for, 10 for, 10 for. Oh, head hit me with the head nod. Understood a nigga like.
We say a lot to say a little. But sometimes we say the most and we ain't really saying shit at all. Cotton mouth, I swear I spit it all. I spit it all on the paper. I'm twisting all of this paper. I'm spinning all of this paper for retail therapy. Brimlow, they still can tell it's me. They say they want the kid in Tel Aviv. Now what that tell the world? I know you smelling me. My fingers recently wrestled the evergreen. Been 100 proof, the message is ever clear. Speaking for the crew, I'm playing Miss Everdeen. Peculiar, Yeah, I study Miss Pettigrew, my pedigree. Duke Nukem, yo, you can move, but just let it be. Falling out of harmony, we singing different melodies. Really ain't spoke the same language in a long time. Both like to claim it's only cause the different latitude. Long lines and shows got me distant with my attitude. No matador, I know you mad at me, I ain't even mad at you.
Hey, pull up puffin' on the end, dog. Chevy sitting up on the windows. Oh, hey, hit me with the head nod. Understood a nigga like 10 for, hey. 10 for, 10 for, 10 for. 10 for, 10 for, 10 for. Oh, yeah, hit me with the head nod. Understood a nigga like.
Liberty, liberty, liberty,
Fuck you, Liberty commercial. I think I need to take a break, guys. Jesus.
Johnny, so what really was the deciding factor for you to run for Congress?
Mom, I want to fight for you.
Mom. Dude, you had your mom interview you? Did she write your speech for you too, Johnny? Johnny's mom wrote a speech. She did not. Mom, tell him. Johnny wrote his own speech. I just proofread it. I should have stopped where I said I was going to stop, because I already know. I'm going to just taper it off right there. Alright guys, we did make a good bit of progress. Got most of the skin tone done. I'll have to come back and work on their hands a little bit more. But yeah, I would like to take a break. Alright guys, peace, till next time.